Welcome everyone to this latest edition of the ICEJ webinar. Of course, we're still in the midst of Israel's battle against Hamas terrorism. And today we have two special guests that are on the program talking about heroes and hostages. We're first going to talk to former Knesset member Shai Hermesh. He's a good friend of the embassy, known us since the 20 years or so as a member of the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus. He also says we helped save his life with a bomb shelter that we placed in his community of Kfar Aza, which happens to be one of the kibbutz along the Gaza border, which got hit the worst in this recent Hamas massacre against Israeli civilians. And let's go, we've caught up with him this week in another kibbutz that's taken in 100 and some families from Kfar Aza. And here I am with Shai Hermesh.
Shai, I know it's not easy to talk about what happened at Kfar Aza in your home and the absolute terror that invaded your community. But can you tell us what happened? We saw you 2 days before, and then you're in peril for your life.
Yeah. So let's start by that. The village around Gaza is attacked by rocket longer than 20 years. We have our local sophisticated alert, which called Tseva Adom, red color. When we got the red color, we have 15 seconds in order to find a shelter. We succeed after not short time to convince the government, to impose the government that it should build a shelter for every apartment, which we not have before. And since then, when there's any alert at home, it took us few seconds. We are there, safe and alive. We wait 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, until the bomb, and we know that the attack is ended. We simply open the iron door of the safety room, and we return back to reality. It sounds so strange for everyone, but for us it's part of the life. We also do it. We are not. We don't change anything because on a rocket attack, because it become part of the day. I would not say daily life, but phenomena that happened once in a few weeks.
The rockets come, the alarm sounds, you stay in there for a certain time, and then it's safe to come out.
And
you thought that was it?
It's ended. What happened on Friday, on Shabbat morning, was what we used to have: a heavy attack, more heavier than we know before, but we know what to do. All the families, everyone, single families, rush to the shelter room, everyone in his apartment. When that ended by a boom, we left the shelter room, and we returned back to the salon, to the living room. That was the technique by the terrorists in order to penetrate under the cover of the attack. So families returned back to the salon hotel and been at their home surprised and immediately attacked by the terrorists. They slaughtered family by family, family by family. No army was there for 4 hours. Now there's an emergency unit in every kibbutz that used to have rifles in order to protect until the army joined it. Unfortunately, a year ago, the army instructed that the weapons will not stay at home, but will be putting together in a safe room. That wasting of time caused a lot of damage, because instead of having the rifle and jump out and start taking position and act, and they know how to act, they ran all of them without weapons to the safe room, safe building, where the rifles there, they opened it, took time, lost time, then they start exchange fire with the terrorists, and most of them being killed. So the first, I say, protected wall crashed down. I don't know whether the first or the second. I think the first one is the border, which we can. We are still under shock how it's happened. Israel invests 5 billion shekel on that buffer,
Mm.
and that fell down in 30 minutes.
Mm.
But that's not our story. When they arrived, they met our security staff.
They broke through the front gate.
It's more complicated.
Yeah.
They've been so sophisticated that part of them were running in the roads and start shooting and killing families. That was just on the beginning. Now they put an ambush in the gate, and when the first unit of army arrived there, they shoot them, and 4 of the soldiers have been killed. So also penetrating by the army to the yard of the kibbutz becomes under fire, risky, and they've been surprised because the army knows that he's going to open the gate and he penetrated there. He could not imagine that one unit of the terrorists putting an ambush on the gate.
So the gate was then open and they could come in and
They come in under fire, and 4 of the soldiers have been killed. No one had been able to concentrate the whole process and start instructing the people what to do. Because the previous rifles have been killed or wounded, but we start hearing shooting, and that was unused because never met before. So what we've done, every one of us returned back to the sheltered room, closed the door. We'll talk later.
Do they lock from the inside or not? I think some may.
Immediately we'll see how unprepared and unknown have been all of us, how naive we have been all of us. Okay, so then start running a voice of emergency on the WhatsApp group of the kibbutz. Calling for people, terrorists are in our house shooting, breaking, talking Arabic. We are in the sheltered room. We are afraid they are going to break into, and they try to break into. Now the system with the sheltered room was just the opposite. It means it enabled opening the door from outside. It enabling opening the window, the air window from outside. Once I asked it years ago, just by name, and he told me it should be like that because if the sheltered room will be attacked by a heavy mortar shell, and there will be casualties there, wounded people or fire, you need that someone will enable you to escape. The terrorists use the hands in order to
The latch.
to break into the safe room, and they keep people in a safe room. So safe room become non-safe room. There are some examples of members of kibbutz that hold for hours,
I heard that.
hours, brave people, in order to avoid from them penetrating into the center.
Trying to hold the door handle.
Yeah.
Keep it.
Some places succeed to do it. They don't able to. Some places they fail, and some places they fail, but the people have been bonded because they shoot with a Kalashnikov to the lock of the door, and people hold it there and got the bottles. Everyone was calling for help, and no one could help. Army succeed to start working in the yard just 4 hours after the breaking. It means if you are talking about 6:30 o'clock, 11 o'clock 30, the first soldier break there, they suffered a lot of casualties because they were being prepared to the area. The terrorists were staying on the ceiling, on the top of the apartment,
On the roof.
and have a straight view
Yeah.
to the soldiers.
They had time to prepare.
They prepared themselves and were in a better position. We don't have any idea about it. What I'm talking now and telling you now is a story which I heard.
You've reconstructed.
My family, my son, Omer, which is placed in unknown until now, 48-year-old, not married, was lived in his apartment in the first area, in the first block, where the terrorists penetrate and kill everyone. He heard noise. He go to the window and move the curtain. And he told me, Abba, I see 3 black people running and shooting, and I'm wounded. And he sent a picture that the blood on his hand. I said, Father, don't worry. It's all destroyed around. The blood is nothing, and I'm escaping to the safety room. Second, my daughter brought the baby and returned from hospital after Kaiserschnitt in Thursday.
She just gave birth.
Okay.
Or C-section.
We planned Brit Milah on Sunday afternoon.
Oh my!
She stayed in a sheltered room with a baby 5 days old, with a granddaughter 3.5 years old, with a dog and with a husband.
These are your grandchildren.
I have a grandchildren. While there, the situation was much worse than me, because the terrorists non-stop knock on the iron door of the window and try to open it. They didn't succeed. If they would succeed to open it, they kill them in a second.
Yeah.
And for 20 hours,
20 hours, you're stuck in your safe room.
they sit quietly. No one of them wept. No one of them cried. No one else said a word, including the dog.
Your
They are
family.
all with no food, with no water, with anything. 20 hours, they did not went out.
Right.
And they start crying for help and told him, Father, the terrorist is on the roof, running there, shouting there, shooting there. What the terrorists have done, they use their building in order to have a better position all around. So they've been both on the window knocking and trying, and inside was quiet, and more than that, on the
On the roof.
on
You can see everyone moving around the plane.
and they called for help, emergency, and I could not help. On the moment, if I would leave the apartment, I'd be shooting on the pave there in the kibbutz, in the yard.
I remember, I don't know if it was Jurgen, our president, or Josh Reinstein of the caucus, someone had called you and you had recorded something for us that I
Really?
listened to, where you were saying we're surrounded, they're shooting. It
Maybe.
was in that first 20 hours when you were still in there.
It's a 20 hours black box.
Yeah.
If people try, ask me, tell the story. I tell them we've been sitting 20 hours, quiet, now stupid. I tell you why stupid. We did not analyze that they could open the door. We sit quiet and say, okay, now in a safe room.
So they never really found you.
Now, what was the miracle? They simply did not penetrate to our apartment. That's all. If they would have entered there, we would not sit here now and talk.
You've had the home since 1964?
1960,
Your home,
1965.
65.
Okay. So we have been so naive. We sit there in the sheltered room and say, no, we are protected. Time will come and someone will release us. What we should do is just sitting quietly and wait for the IDF to come. We try to call for help, every one of us, and the answer got the army is now fighting. The area is full with terrorists. They are not able to break and release the people. We don't know how heavy were the casualties by the army. We don't know that the army is fighting.
But you knew they were out there fighting, trying
They
to
are
get
fighting. We did not know how heavy is the battle there. In the very end, terrorists arrived, but they've been there, I don't know, hundreds of them, I don't know how many, because the battle was very heavy battle. 20 hours passed, and then knocking on the door, on the sheltered room, Tzal, army, tzava. I told them, no, I need the shisma, the code. I need a code. There's a code. The code was 1313. That soldier didn't know the code. I told him I'm not going to open. But it was stupid. They don't need me. They could open it by their own.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't, until I don't have the code, I'm not going to open the door. It took 2 or 3 minutes. They told me 1313. Okay, I opened the door. I found 20 combat soldiers of Givati, armed from
Head to
top
toe.
to, with rifles, and told me you have 5 minutes to arrange something, taking with you, we are going to take you out. So what I've done is have just overcome a heavy leukemia, and then all the trip around.
This is your wife.
Okay? I took the package with all the drugs put them there with some.
She's battling cancer and has all these
So-
medicines. You're rushing out.
She recovered from cancer, but the first idea was that the drug should be with us. You know? So we put all the drugs, some basic treat, and then hurry. We walked from one apartment to one apartment along the path.
This is 2 a.m. in the dark.
2 in the morning,
The only thing you took was her medicine.
with nothing.
Yeah.
Around the shooting, exchange fire between the army and the terrorists. It's not ended. They concentrate all of us in a certain place in the yard there, and then we start walking longer than 1 kilometer
In the dark.
to the petrol station.
Yeah.
You know, it's been there several times.
Yes. Yeah.
Where the buses were waiting for us. They could not bring the buses to the kibbutz because the buses would be shot. So you could see elderly people, my daughter with a 5 days child on her hand, a handicap with a chair wagon. All of them are walking slowly, surrounded by the Givati combat soldiers, protected by them, quietly. No one is talking. It took around 20 minutes, I think. When we reached the petrol station, there was waiting the buses, which took us on a mid-stop and then brought us to here. So 120 families
120 families.
that survived are here.
It's amazing they got you out because the whole area along Highway 232, which runs like Kfar Aza,
Yeah.
it was crawling with terrorists for days.
And the way escaping itself by the bus was very risky
Yes.
because no one knows whether they ambush on the door because they put ambushes here and there
Yeah.
and block the army. Part of the system they've done.
And there were terrorists in IDF uniforms and police uniforms. They killed someone and put on their uniform. And
That's what you know.
you didn't know it at the
We don't have
time.
any idea. We escaped
Yeah.
just to save our life.
Yeah.
And we enter here, we got the whole service of support, we are here. And then it took time to know what's going in the kibbutz. So after a few days, we start getting few pictures. And the first one was my apartment that had been totally destroyed.
Yeah.
The picture is that nothing remained there. And I don't know when the terrorists penetrate to my apartment and what happened there until which something happened. You can't believe. Yesterday, 12 o'clock at night, arrived here a soldier, a young boy, start talking with my friend who also was wounded. His wife and three have been kidnapped. Later on, we returned to my son too. And he started talking Kafrit, Syncopa, it's all companies in Kfar Aza. You know, we go from Kafrit to Syncopa, we made it there, we've been on attack, we killed them, we shoot them, they shoot us. I went to him and say, excuse me, have you been there? And he started quoting place by place. And I told him, you know, I'm the one who my family lost her apartment near by the office of the kibbutz. Near the, so tell me, I've been there. Okay, so tell me where you've been there. I left my apartment fully equipped with no any damage at 2 o'clock. What happened? So tell me, after you left, I have not been able to quote in the time, but it's a question of hours, maybe an hour, maybe half an hour, maybe 2 hours, not more. You know, they penetrate, they break into apartment and use your apartment as a position against the army. It means they did not enter to my apartment only to kill people because no one was there. And as it is the front apartment, as you know, you've been there, it is front apartment and the army was the front. They use the position. So they start shooting toward the army starts shooting toward them, and then the army, the idea decide that it's too risky. They call for a combat helicopter, and he shoot the house.
So your house is destroyed because they were using it as a stronghold, and it's too risky to try and storm it.
All got lost. 60 years of collecting and building an apartment, albums, memories, pictures. I'm not talking about valuable properties. I don't care about it. But the whole story of the family now all the memories is now under the rise.
Mm.
Now the story with my son, which is really painful, is placed in unknown until now. He called us,
This is Omer who,
Omer,
who got shot in the hand.
shot in the hand. He sent us a WhatsApp at 10:30. He said, I don't want to be connected with anyone. I shut up my telephone. I go to the shelter room, and that's it. We know that's his personality. When in other stress, I don't want anyone to talk with, I don't want anyone to discuss with, I am there. And we don't have any idea for 24 hours. We didn't have any idea for 48 hours. And I asked the army to enter and see what's going there. What we know that his neighbor, the women with 3 children, have been kidnapped. We thought that they took him too. But then, by a miracle way, we called the company of the telephone and asked them, are you able
To track.
to try to find
GPS.
where the telephone is? I'm talking 48 hours after the break of the attack. Normally, the battery is 0.
Mm.
The battery was not 0. They identified 250 meters from his apartment
Mm.
on the inside petrol road, which by somehow, somewhere, could bring him to our apartment, not in a short way, but reasonable. Maybe he understood that running between the building there is risky because he heard the exchange fire between the army and there. He thought that, I think so, he thought that if we go around the bypass, it will be safer. The last station we've been is a 250 meter where the telephone there. We don't have the telephone, but the location was there. And from that moment, we don't have any.
You know, your son is missing.
My son is missing. He's not. If he would be kidnapped by the Hamas, the army still have the list of names. He's not there.
Omer Hermesh, 48,
40.
and missing from Kfar.
So that story. The story Sarah Hamesh is missing.
The army hasn't informed you, or the authorities.
We are connected with the army. We are connected with the
that
police.
he's been confirmed a
They
hostage.
They are doing a lot of hard work in order to find information. We take in consideration that there are close to 400 missing,
Yeah,
and the Balagan is a big Balagan.
yeah. There's so many dead. There's so many confirmed hostages, but there's a group. I think it's shrunk down to around 400 unaccounted for and missing. He's a part of them.
And it's hard for them to work. They're working very hard.
It may be 250 hostages that they know are in Gaza, but he's
We know about 250. We don't know about 400.
Yeah.
So there's a situation we're here. We lost everything. We don't have anything. We can't imagine what the future is going to be. I'm 80 years old. Chava is 75. It's not time to start building from zero.
Scratch, yeah.
I don't know what the government is going to do. Themselves are totally confused. There'll be a lot of needs all around the country, not just my family. I don't know what my plan for the future is going to be, whether to return back there or whether not to return back. It's a very tough question. People ask me how I feel. I feel like a Holocaust survivor. And somewhere I'm thinking that if I survive from that village, maybe I'm not going to take that risk again.
Yeah.
But they ask, what's the alternative? There's no any alternative now, because any alternative need either heavy support by the government. I don't know if they are ready now to deal with it. They are in the middle of the war. They are talking about war that could take months. We are staying here in one small room, Chava and me. My daughter with the 2 children and her husband are in a neighborhood place, the kibbutz.
A brand new granddaughter.
With a granddaughter. Everything here is okay, but it will be ended.
I remember traveling with Latvia to set up a pro-Israel caucus in their parliament, and you took us outside Riga to this forest where they marched 25,000 Jews in one weekend. It was the second biggest massacre of Jews after Babinyan
Babinyan.
in Kiev. And I remember you standing there. That bound my heart to you, Shai, in a deep way. And this is even more. There are Christians who are going to stand with you. And whatever you decide, we want to help rebuild your life. You're a survivor. Can you just say a word about Ofer Lipstein, who you were mayor of the regional council where Kfar Aza, he was like a successor, and he was one of the first casualties.
Alon Schuster. Yes, Ofer Lipstein, a member of Kibbutz Father, the mayor of Sha'ar HaNegev, the area where I've been the mayor for
You and him addressed us 2 days before all this happened.
2 days before. We were gathered all together, hundreds of Christians from all around the world,
Yeah.
in the new basketball stadium in Sha'ar HaNegev. We bless you, Ophir bless you, and bless you. The atmosphere was high, people was happy,
Yeah.
running and singing, very optimistic. We talk about the future of the area. You should take in consideration that since I left Sha'ar HaNegev until now, the population in Sha'ar HaNegev doubled. I left it by 5,000. It now was over 10,000. It was a long waiting list of young families who was waiting just for the order to start building their apartment there. My daughter too. There's a plot of 50 plots with all the infrastructure, water, sewage water, electricity is all ready.
The Zionist Act, they fire rockets we're going to build.
And they was on the stage in order to start building. I don't know, it will be now. I'm convinced they are not going to return again to such an experiment. But there's been one of 50 families who was on a process of building, and that was just one list. When they will finish, there's a second list of another 50. In the total, we saw that in a year or 2 years from now, Father will be bigger than 1,000 people. What will be now,
We don't know.
bottom line, 53 have been murdered. 9 now 8 are unknown, are missing. 11 are kidnapped.
Yeah.
We don't need any more figures in order to clarify the catastrophe and the tragedy. There's no
Yeah.
word. Still, the future is really, there's no future. We don't know what's going to be. We are here.
Mayor Lipstein, he made us a promise. He as he was finishing his remarks, he says, "I promise to do everything I can to keep the land of Israel. I promise to do everything I can to keep this beautiful area so you can visit again." He wound up giving his life. He was one of the first casualties.
One of the first, what happened with him when they allowed the red color ended in the orchid lunch, he left his room and go to the car in order to drive to the municipality to open the emergency room there and to start collecting information, because it's not just for Gaza. The attack was across the border.
It's the heaviest rocket barrage ever in 20, 30 years. I think 2,500 rockets in an hour or so. 2,500 rockets in that first hour.
I don't have the figure.
Yeah.
So he left his room, left the apartment, and he was shot on the when he started walking for the car. He did not have any idea.
He was shot just outside his house.
He did not have any idea that the terrorists are running all and all and shooting not just the apartment, shooting also. So he was the one that we know they've been killed. At 9 o'clock, the Channel 2, Channel 12, informed that the mayor of Sha'ar HaNegev had been murdered by the terrorists.
He was the first person named in the media, the first casualty.
Then we understand that the situation is serious.
Serious, yeah.
But taking consideration, we have been sitting 20 hours, me, my wife, and my son and the dog, feeling that we are safe. What stupidity.
Yeah.
Because we have never been before instructed on the possibility that someone will use the handle in order to break into the shelter room with a safe place.
Okay, you've got the fellow kibbutz here of Shephaim on the central coast of Israel and very lovely here. And I hope, you can recover more and find your balance and a direction ahead. But we're going to be walking with you, Shai. Really want to reassure you on that.
In the end of that conversation, I really want to thank David Dew and all the staff for years. Your presence here is not unused. You are with us everywhere. On the protected age of 2014, you have been the one who break into Father and the rocket and put the sheltered room. We can't forget it.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
You said it saved your life. One of our bombshells saved your life one time.
Really, it's not a joke. So having to say that the Christian embassy in Jerusalem, the staff and the supporter congregation all around the world, on behalf of the people here who are really feeling like refugees or survivors. Refugees is not enough like survivors because they are Jews. We don't have the word in order to thank all of you, encourage you for all what you are doing, your commitment, your support, you being with us on the more difficult time, and I can't find a more critical time that they say now than now, which the people here are survivors by miracle. We did not fight. I've been a combat soldier. I've been a paratroop in 67 and in 73. We delivered Jerusalem. We crossed the Suez Canal with the boats. I've been the Lebanon War in 1982. I never met such a situation, and I've been under risk, under fire, under death. What I find in that 20 hours is a trauma that will take years for us to recover and understand the impact of that, of us, of our children, of our grandchildren, of next generation. Who knows?
Well, we were calling you and trying to see if you were okay, and we're glad that you're alive. We're going to pray and work for the relief. If they find your son, if he's being held, we want him released, and we're going to keep working with you and help you, and God bless you, my friend.
David, no words, believe me. Right?
Yes, Shai Hermesh is one of the heroes of this horrific incident. And also Ophir Lipstein, the mayor who lost his life trying to keep his promise to keep the beautiful region of Sha'ar HaNegev and Kfar Aza. He was also from this village. I hope you were able to draw a lot from that, and will help us stand with Kfar Aza and all the communities impacted by this dreadful Hamas terrorism. There's also the matter of the hostages. There are as many as 200 to 250 Israeli civilians, plus people from, I think it's over 30, somewhere between 30 and 40 other countries that are being held hostage in Gaza. The whole world is worried about the civilian population of Gaza, as they should be, but what about the hostages? Even the Red Cross hasn't visited them yet. And now to talk about this is my colleague and our president, Dr. Jürgen Buehler, with Caleb Myers. He's a prominent Israeli attorney who has been asked by the government to head up a special effort to mobilize Christians around the world to help free the Israeli and other hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza.
I have today with me a very dear friend and guest, and Caleb, I wish we would meet at more happier circumstances right now. But you are leading a new coalition that just came out as a consequence of that war. It's called Voice for Freedom Coalition. And what you are doing with this coalition is you want to give a voice to all those hostages. And even more, I believe you are looking for strong political impact. Can you tell our listeners a little bit what you are doing and also how people can help around the world?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. I think it's just important to pause for a second and to imagine what it's like to have your mother or father, who's maybe a Holocaust survivor, having passed through all the horrors in the 1930s, and now they're in a tunnel underneath Gaza without access to their medication, or parents who know that their children, their toddlers, babies are being kept in cages right now by Hamas. And there's beyond that many families that don't even know that their loved ones are missing. They don't know if they've been killed or taken hostage. There's still hundreds of unidentified bodies as the work is going around the clock. And the one thing that the IDF chief medical officer said today is that in their examinations of the bodies that they have done forensic work on, 80% of them were either raped or tortured before they were killed.
Wow.
So, like you said, this is it's a crisis and a catastrophe of unequal proportions. I met with a mother yesterday whose son disappeared. He was at the music festival down there, and they had assumed that he was kidnapped, but they hadn't heard anything from the government. Yesterday, she received a phone call from the IDF notifying her that officially her son is recognized as being a hostage at the hands of Hamas. An hour after she received the phone call from the government, she received a phone call from Hamas coming from her son's cell phone and telling her that unfortunately her son has been killed in the bombings of the Israeli Air Force and that your government killed your son. Now, we don't know if that's true, but that's the type of psychological warfare that Hamas is playing with the minds of people that are in the ultimate place of suffering right now. We were contacted by the committee. I was contacted by the committee of the hostages, of the families of the hostages, a week ago on Monday. And there's 30 or 40 organizations at least that are representing them in very different ways. They asked me to help centralize and manage their international media and diplomatic campaign, particularly among the non-Jewish communities. I'm a lawyer that represents many evangelical interests in Israel, including the International Christian Embassy. And so I was well positioned to do this. So I'm a little bit too old to go into reserve duty, but I saw this as kind of a call up for a type of reserve duty from God. So I've been working around the clock for the last 9 days, and we've put together so far a coalition of 300 organizations, including the embassy. We're calling it the Voice for Freedom Coalition. And what we've done so far is, number one, we ask for the contact details of the media people, the media department within those organizations, and we've created a unified WhatsApp list where we're pushing notifications and we're creating, curating, and sharing quality media to keep the focus of the world on this issue. We helped create and distribute those kidnapped posters that have been all over the world. They're being printed out and plastered in all the major cities around the world. When Facebook last week, Facebook's algorithm removed all of those kidnapped posts from Facebook, we had an organization, our coalition, that contacted them, confronted them, and was able to change that policy. So now those can be shared in Facebook.
Why would Facebook remove that from their pages?
They actually apologized. They said it was something that came from the automatic algorithm they had. What they said that they will not be showing is like active video scenes of people being kidnapped or killed. Like the difficult graphic material needs to be blurred out, but the kidnap posters will get in, and so they fixed that. But they actually apologized for that. So we have a media arm of our activities. We also have volunteers calling each and every leader of each and every organization and trying to map out what connections they may have with real decision makers and real governments around the world, so we know exactly what asset, for lack of a better word, we're holding that we can use to apply pressure in certain pressure points, particularly throughout Europe, but around the world as this project goes forward. I will mention this, that probably the only country that can affect a decision of Hamas to release the hostages is Qatar. Qatar has been playing a game for many years. On one hand, it's been sending hundreds of millions of euro or dollars to Hamas in Gaza, and it's told the West, we need to do this so that we'll have some kind of influence for good when it's needed. At the same time, they have massive business interests throughout Europe. Obviously, They own some of the biggest football clubs, Saint-Germain, Paris, and other ones throughout Europe. I think they're heavily invested in Volkswagen in Germany.
They were the host of the last World Cup soccer.
The World Cup, obviously. So they want big legitimacy in the West, but on the other hand, they sent the vast majority of funding that Hamas used to militarize itself and carry out this butchery against Jews in Israel. So now is the time to
And
say
Al Jazeera is telling their twisted story all over the world.
that's right. There's major disinformation coming out from Al Jazeera, and if you're an Arabic-speaking person anywhere in Europe or the United States or any other Western countries, the information that you're getting right now is very, very biased. For that reason, our Ministry of Foreign Affairs is currently considering banning Al Jazeera and preventing their reporters from reporting on the ground here in Israel. For instance, the bombing yesterday of the hospital, where Al Jazeera immediately said the IDF bombed the hospital, 500 people were dead. We know now the truth, that was a misfired missile from the Islamic Jihad and Hamas. We have recordings of them, admitting that this was them, and and they're responsible for it. Also, much less than 500 people were killed in that, by the way, thank God. So it's time to tell, countries like Qatar, okay, you've said you've been giving this money so you can have influence. Now's the time to exert your influence. And if you don't, then you're complicit in the situation. I'm not saying that they knew about the attack in advance or they were in any way part of planning it, but they have influence in Hamas because they're the route through which money is sent to Hamas.
And they host the perpetrators, because all the top echelon of Hamas leadership, they are residing in Qatar in beautiful villas, have a luxurious lifestyle there. But you know what you said, these are very big subjects. You're dealing with a hostage crisis in the Middle East. Of course, that's normally something which only big governments can deal with. You are dealing with a state in the Arab world, Qatar, that is very powerful in itself. You have a very good strategy. What is it that Christians today can do? We keep saying here at the embassy, this crisis right now, it is the point where our support with Israel really need to get hands. It's not enough anymore to say, oh, we love Israel, we stand with Israel. It is a day where we all need to become active. And how can Christians become active in what you are doing and support you?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So first of all, if you are a leader of our organization or connected to an organization that's not part of our coalition yet, please contact us. We would love to add you to our coalition. You can go to voiceforfreedom.org. That's voice, the number 4, and then freedom.org. And we'll add your media person to our WhatsApp group. We'll notify you of various initiatives and see how you might be able to contribute. Secondly, we are planning a mass rally, a demonstration in Geneva on Sunday, this coming Sunday, the 22nd of October. It's at Place des Nations, across from the Human Rights Council of the United Nations and the offices of the Red Cross. We're going to be flying over there 5 family members of hostages who we are bringing, on Friday, we're bringing them into a meeting with the president of the International Committee of the Red Cross. And on Sunday, we're going to have the demonstration. We want this to be by far the largest demonstration yet in Europe, maybe one of the largest in the world. We're hoping to have over 5,000 people there, primarily Christians standing up and saying, we as a Christian community of Europe are not going to ignore this type of issue this time. We say never again. Never again is right now. This is never again. This is the time for never again. It's right now. And we have to be one strong, very united voice against this type of evil. The reason that the United Nations and the International Committee of the Red Cross were created was exactly to deal with these type of situations, and we don't see them being engaged enough. The Red Cross should have already visited the hostages, demanded lists and names of them, demand to know what their medical situation is, offer them any kind of medical treatment that's necessary, which might not be available in Gaza. We need them to get engaged. And most of all, we need to be one united voice to call for the immediate and unconditional release of all of these kidnapped people. Lastly, so if you can come to that event, please, October 22nd, Sunday, we're going to be at 3 o'clock at Place des Nations.
Which is this coming Sunday.
This coming Sunday, exactly. October 22nd. Please come. Please extend an invitation to your network, to your organizations, to your friends. We have a budget for buses. If you say, look, I'm coming from somewhere in the world and I can put 50 people together, if you pay for a bus, we will pay for your buses. We want as many people to show up as possible. And lastly,
just to underline the point again, for everybody to understand, this is something which really, it's a cry from help coming from Israel. It's you might wonder, what can we do about those hostages? You can be there. You can help Kalev and his team to give them a voice, to make sure that not only the International Red Cross, but also the world media understands there is a strong Christian community who are standing with them. If you already have other plans for this weekend, I do urge you, pray about it, think about it, to change your plans. If you are a pastor, maybe you want to mobilize your church to get a bus. I actually invite you to take it as on your own expense for your congregation. But if you are short on money, contact Kalev Meyer's office. They have a budget to help with buses to come there. But bring as many as possible people with you. Share the information with fellow pastors. If you are a denominational leader, that would be an amazing point where you can mobilize your denominations in a short time to come down to Geneva to stand with Israel. It will show the Jewish people that the church is a reliable partner around the world, that in a time of crisis they can count upon them. And also it will have an impact on those institutions like the Red Cross, that is dependent on donations and that is dependent on international support, that they better need to get their act together. Now, talking about the International Red Cross for a moment, you mentioned that they have been a little bit reluctant. Normally, when it's about issues relating to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, when Israel is doing something wrong, usually they are one of the first who are jumping out and condemning Israel and pointing out what Israel is not doing right. Was there any type of voice that you heard from the Red Cross in recent days?
So unfortunately, you're absolutely right. And if we remember back in 2010, when we had Gilad Shalit, that was at one hostage at that time that we were, advocating on his behalf. At that time, Hamas actually had its headquarters in the offices of the International Committee of the Red Cross in Jerusalem, which gave them a certain type of diplomatic immunity. So it was actually harboring Hamas, which is unbelievable, unfathomable. And we must state that the gentleman who founded the Red Cross, Henri Dunant, was a strong Christian Zionist. He was one of the only Christian friends of Herzl that participated in the first Zionist Congress over 100 years ago, and he believed in the right of the Jewish people for national sovereignty and national identity, and he foresaw 50 or 60 years in advance the fulfillment of these prophecies. To see the Red Cross have strayed so far from that heritage is very, very difficult. What they have done so far is they did put out a press release 3 or 4 days ago that said that
it took them 3-4 days to come out in the first place.
That's right. And what it said is they're looking into the situation to see if there's any way that they might have. Well, the first comment was that we're not engaged in the situation in Gaza. And then afterwards they came out and said we're looking into it. So I think it's an understatement to say that they're not fully engaged at the level that they should be. And so that is another organization that we really, really need to pressure. And to get involved. And the other thing I would say, you asked practical things to do. So yeah, join our coalition. Yes, join the demonstration. For those of you who want to give, we do have a platform at voiceforfreedom.com. But beyond that, Jürgen, I know you have a lot of prayers and intercessors in your network. Now's the time to get down on our knees and cry out for grace and mercy, for protection of Israel, and for the release of these hostages. Pray for their precious souls, that are in this dark place, is filled with fear and terror, that, how they'll ever recover from that, if and when they're released. They'll need so much healing and so much grace. Surround them and their families. Pray for all the families that their loved ones are missing. and don't even know if they're one of the bodies that's going to be identified or if they're at the hands of Hamas in Gaza. We need so much prayer covering. There are people, Jürgen, like you and I, that are kind of boots on the ground. We're praying with our feet. We're working around the clock. You know, our 24 hours seems like it's all condensed into about an hour when we look over the last few days. It's a big blur because it's another phone call, another email, another interview. What can we do?
That's right.
But there are people who can take time to pray. Take time to pray. We need your prayers, and we believe that the fervent prayers of righteous people make a big difference. So please pray for us.
Yeah, and you know, in that regard, and we speak about political lobbying, but at the same time, we need to believe in a God who is carrying out miracles. And you know,
Yes.
one of our prayer partners, he came to us recently, said, you know, if God can shut the lions in the lion's den in the time of Daniel, he can also shut the mouth or the hands of those Hamas terrorists as they are having the captives in Gaza. One of the Israelis who actually one of his sons was missing. He told me, he says, I'm not sure if I would be more happy to hear that my son got killed or to hear that my son is actually a hostage in Gaza, because the situation there is unimaginably bad. And it's one of my friends said, you know, these are not even animals, those people, because animals would not do what those people did to other human beings there in the Gaza Strip. So it's a critical time. We need to pray. You need to be there at the demonstration this coming Sunday. What time is it again, Kalev?
3 o'clock in the afternoon.
3 o'clock. So it's a drive distance from most European countries. If you're in Germany, Austria, France, down in Italy, you should be there. You should mobilize your churches to support that with as big as possible group. And also at the same time, please consider supporting Voice for Freedom Coalition. There is a link down where you can go on their website and you can see how you can support this very important mission. Now, Kalev, talking back about Qatar, you know, this is a very rich, powerful Arab state. People think this is a very advanced state, human rights-wise, because they had the Soccer World Cup, just they showcased their nation to the whole world. But in a way, what I hear from you, this is still a very dark place in regard to human rights.
There's no question. And now is the time for moral clarity. Now, we can't be playing games. We have to speak the truth like it is. You know, it says, you shall know the truth and the truth will set you free. It's only this type of truth that can set these hostages free, actually. You know, people want to have good relations with countries like Qatar because they have the highest GDP per capita of any country in the world. They're massive. They're just sitting on mountains of money. But there are other very wealthy countries down there that are not sending money to Hamas. Saudi Arabia doesn't send money to Hamas. The UAE doesn't send money to Hamas, right? And Bahrain and these other countries, they're not acting as a funding conduit of this evil terrorist regime. And so we need to speak about this and say, look, now's the time to choose sides. You can't both be supporting Hamas and supporting the Israeli people. And it's also very important to point out that Israel is not at war with the Palestinians. Israel is at war with Hamas. And there are very, well-intentioned Arab states and Western states around the world who care about the Palestinians. I care about the Palestinians. Every human being is created in the image of their maker and has the highest inherent value in their life. In order to support Israel, we're not anti-Palestinian. In order to support Palestinians, we shouldn't be anti-Israeli. But we need to eradicate this terrorist organization that suppresses the Palestinians. You know, since they forcefully came to power in 2006, we've seen thousands of cases of arbitrary arrests, degrading treatment, and torture of Palestinians per year. Hundreds of executions without trial, documented executions without trial per year. It's one of the darkest military police states on planet Earth. And so we want the Palestinians to be freed from Hamas. For that reason, Israel has created this humanitarian corridor that encourage Palestinians to get away from the areas that they'll need to go into in this ground incursion. Hamas bombed that corridor to prevent Palestinians from leaving and is keeping them there at gunpoint, hoping that their own people will be killed so that they can take those photos and send them around the world to delegitimize Israel. We're not fighting the Palestinians, we're fighting Hamas. And It's a very
That's the, yeah, it's a very important point. And, I keep telling people, and sometimes I see even with prayer leaders, this moral clarity is missing. They are, I had people the other day, so we have to pray for Hamas. And my response is, you don't pray for Hamas.
Yeah.
In World War II, I'm from Germany. I remember so many times my father telling me as a kid, he said, we have to be thankful for America because they took out the Nazi regime. And it needed a very strong force. It needed a very strong military solution to get rid of Hitler. And I
Yeah.
think there is absolute legitimacy to compare Hamas with the spirit that was driving Adolf Hitler. If you hear to their sermons on a Friday services in their mosques, they call for the destruction of all the Jews all over the world. So it's nothing different. And we have to be very clear about that. But at the same time, you are absolutely right. We have to pray for the Palestinian people. Like my father who got saved during World War II on the front lines, I believe there are many people in in Gaza, that the finger of the Lord might be upon them right now and bring them into his kingdom. So we have to pray for these people, but at the same time, we have to pray for a very firm action from Israel to really deal with those Hamas terrorists in a decisive way. Coming back to the refugees, the hostages in Gaza, one of the most disturbing and heartbreaking things for me is to see Holocaust survivors being over. They suffered so much. They went through hell in their youth, and now in their old age, maybe they experienced the same horrors that they just went through when they were children or young people. There was this one ad, I think it was in a pizzeria in the West Bank, who took a picture of one of those Holocaust survivors, hostages, and made advertisement for their pizza. It's horrendous what's taking place there.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely terrible. And I think these situations, Jürgen, bring to the surface the people who we know are friends of humanity and the people who are enemies of humanity. The people who support life, human thriving, and human well-being, and the people who support death and destruction. These types of, the pizzeria that use this picture in their advertisements and so on and so forth. Now we know who they are, right? So the question is today, are you going to be a voice for life and human thriving and blessing, or are you going to be a voice for death and terrorism? And we have a very clear choice today. It's very important to make our voices be heard. For those of you who are active in social media, very, very important to take, the pieces and the posts that touch your heart and to share them and to bless them out. There's a war that's waging, and as time goes on, there's going to be more and more pressure on Israel. Israel is going to be blamed because we know that they're going to go into Gaza to take out Hamas, and we may need to do the same thing on our northern border with Hezbollah. This will probably be a war that'll be drawn out for months, and more people will unfortunately lose their lives. So it's important to remember with moral clarity, the good and the evil, and what are we standing for, and to give Israel that support and that backing to get the job done, which is really on behalf of humanity. I believe that if Europe is silent again this time, Europe itself will be in big trouble. It's the writing is on the wall. This is a time to make all of our voices heard, and to speak up for truth. Again, never again. We say never again on Holocaust Memorial Day. Never again is today. This is what we're talking about when we say never again. We should have zero tolerance for this type of evil in our world.
And this is exactly what also, I like to bring up the story of Esther in these times, which had this incredible call from Mordechai, her uncle. He said, if you remain silent at such a time, he says, don't make a mistake, your people will be saved. Salvation will come from somebody else. He will use somebody else, but you and your house, you will perish. And I think the church today is at the very same crossroad where God is asking them, where are you? Do you hear the blood of your brother crying out of the earth? Are you willing to stand up? And I don't think there's any doubt on which side we need to stand in those critical days. Thank you so much, Caleb Myers. We want to wish you all blessings. I hope I can be with you in Geneva myself. Actually, I'm planning to join you for this very critical moment. And I believe many, many other Christians from around the world will join you there also.
I hope so. It would be good to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Caleb. God bless you.
We have several of our Christian Embassy branches in Europe that will be taking part in this rally to free the hostages in Geneva this Sunday at 3 p.m. And please be there. Again, it's Voice, the number 4, Freedom, voiceforfreedom.org. And Caleb Myers also has a meeting tomorrow, Friday, with the chairman of the International Committee of the Red Cross in Geneva and the chairman of the UN Human Rights Commission. Please be praying for those meetings ahead of this rally on Sunday. That's our time for now. We got to give way in just a moment to the global prayer gathering. God bless you. Join us again next week for another ICEJ webinar.